Alexis here, coming to you with an awesome sale of 25% off when you use promo code OHURU25 at alexisfowler.com. And I provide services like digital art, logo designs, packaging designs, web designs, social media flyers, and much more. If you're an entrepreneur with a business or a startup company, make sure you take advantage of this opportunity, getting 25% off when you use promo code OHURU25 at alexisfowler.com.
Peace, family. I hope all is well. I hope your Tuesday is going well. Do me a favor, hit that like button again. Please hit the like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. You guys know I love you, and I appreciate the support over the years. It really means a lot. We have been rocking now consistently on YouTube for about 8 years now, 8, 9 years. We'll say about 9 years, 8, 9 years now, consistently, been consistently engaged. I've had some food in my teeth. I'm sorry. I just finished had some Haitian black rice. Had some Haitian black rice. It was off the chain. Some vegetables and yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, we've been rocking with each other since, consistently since 2015. I've been engaged with the continent consistently since 2011. And we are making it do what it do or do what it does, whatever the saying is. So everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Before we jump into the topic, all right, before we jump into the topic, and again, I cannot stress because the subscriber count, has gone down. If you watch this video, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscription button, okay? Please hit the subscription button. Please tweak the algorithm. I will greatly appreciate it. It really means a lot. Listen, even if you don't agree with me, still hit that subscription bell. Even if you don't agree with me, or at least share the content. And just because you don't agree with me, there might be somebody out there that finds value in what I do and will agree with me. Gullah Jack, peace and love from Charleston, South Carolina. Gullah, you got to come to Sierra Leone with me next month. You got to come. If you're Gullah, you got to come to Sierra Leone with me next month. All right. Sierra Leone is one of the countries where the Gullah come from. Again, one of the countries. That whole West Coast, West Africa corridor from Senegal all the way down to, we'll say Liberia. That's where in inwards to, I want to say, maybe like Mozambique, I think, something like that. That's all Gullah, all the Gullah, that's where they come from because of the expertise they had in growing rice. Rice is not native to low country, which I guess would be considered South Carolina and Savannah. So once they decided they wanted to grow rice, they had to bring the experts in via slave ships. And so slaves from Senegal down to, we'll say Liberia, for sure Sierra Leone, that's where the Gullah come from. So Gullah Jack, you got to come to Sierra Leone because really in Sierra Leone, that's where they really have preserved that Gullah connection. I go to Senegal. I've been to all these other, a lot of these other West African countries. When it comes to preserving the Gullah connection, they really have done a great job doing that in Sierra Leone. So if you're Gullah, you got to come to Sierra Leone. You got to come to Sierra Leone. Come and join us. With that being said, we got some announcements, and then we'll jump into today's topic. Announcement number 1, 2, and 3. All right, so we are rolling to Sierra Leone, November 21st through December 3rd. November 21st through December 3rd, we are rolling to Sierra Leone. Citizenship is available to those who qualify. Again, citizenship is available to those who qualify. Come and join us in Sierra Leone. We're going to have a great time. Have about 5, 6-ish more spots left. come to Sierra Leone. Citizenship is available. For the most part, you have to have your African ancestry DNA certificates, which link you back to Sierra Leone. All right, being Gullah or saying you're Gullah is not claiming to be Gullah is not going to be enough because again, all the Gullah did not come from Sierra Leone. So again, take your African ancestry DNA paperwork. It links back to Sierra Leone. You are eligible for citizenship. Again, you are eligible for citizenship. All right, so we're going to Sierra Leone in November, Benin Republic in January. Please, yes. Thumbs up. We need that. What do you need? What do you need? Benin Republic in January for the Voodoo Festival. Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. And in Nigeria in August for the Oshun Festival. So y'all come and join us in Africa. Hit the motherland. We're going to have a great time. And I told the story yesterday when we were on live. Called my mama on Sunday. Again, called my mama on Sunday. And, I told her, my schedule for November as far as travel. And she was like, yeah, Dynas, everybody hates America. You're more safer over there. I said, oh, my God, I almost dropped my phone. And again, she said, everybody hates America. You see what's going on with America right now. You might be more safer over there. You might be more safer over there. I dropped my phone. Listen, it's the tides are turning now. It was usually son, be safe. Son, don't let this happen. Son, I heard this was happening in Africa. Son, I heard that was happening in Africa. Son, I heard this was happening in Africa. Now, it's son, you might be safer in Africa. Son, you might now be safer in Africa. That was a first. So the consciousness is definitely changing. I've always been big on having an Africa plan, but so many Black folks in America are so offended by even the mention of Africa. Like they get more. Do you still have to take a DNA test if your parents from Sierra Leone? No, you don't. You don't. If your parent is from Sierra Leone, all you need is that birth certificate, and then I want to say you're gonna need your parents' passport too. Big Bad Kahuna, hit me up. Go to send me an email and include your phone number. hello@downfo.africa. hello@downfo.africa. Send me your number. Email me and send me your number. I mean, Black people were so offended by even the thought of going to Africa and relocating to Africa and having Africa as a second option. I mean, Black people were so offended. Like they were more offended by the suggestion of Africa than they were the suggestion of Europe. I'm not kidding you. But things are changing. Again, time is changing. So I even said to the point, listen, even if you are just offended by Africa for some reason, because you hate yourself, hell, consider just another option outside of America, no matter where it's at, even if you're offended by Africa. But my plan is I currently have 2 citizenships on the continent. I am working on a third. Been a very long naturalization process. Should find out something this month. Then I am going to get another colonizer passport, as they say. As they say, I'm going to get one more colonizer passport, and then I'm done. And with that being, once that's done, I'm setting my um, passports are legacy. All right, passports are legacy, and they are inheritance. My son and my future children, they will have options outside of America. They want to go to Senegal, well, they want to go to Sierra Leone, they go to Sierra Leone. They want to stay in America, hey, stay in America. They want to go to Nigeria, they go to Nigeria. Another country in Africa I'm working on that, I should find out something here this month as far as naturalization. If they decide they want to go there, they go there. And then, Larry, you're half right. And no, I will not go to that miserable place called Britain. It's too, Britain is too cold. I'm not going to Britain. But there's another country in Southern Europe where once I get this, I don't see, like, when it comes to like Britain and France, I think those countries are just overrated. I don't see the point of leaving America to go to Britain or France. That's just me personally. Oh, I could also, but Guinea-Bissau, they're not serious. Guinea-Bissau, like Sierra Leone, was supposed to have roll out a program where you could get your citizenship via DNA, but they're not serious. Guinea-Bissau, they're not serious. So that's not gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. In fact, to the point, there was a group that went specifically and were told they were going to get their citizenship in Guinea-Bissau, paid their fees or whatnot, just to be told, like, hey, it's not going to happen. And by the way, you're not going to get a refund. So Sierra Leone, I'm just taking notes, guys. I'll do a separate show on this. Sierra Leone is the only country that has a streamlined citizenship program for the diaspora in Sierra Leone. It's Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is the only country, okay? But yeah, I'm working on a third passport in Africa. I'm going to get another colonizer passport, Southern Europe. And then I'll be good to go. I think I'll be good to go. No, it's not going to happen. Because I have Guinea-Bissau DNA as well. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Like I said, Sierra Leone is the only country. But let's jump into today's topic. We've had the discussion before, and this discussion was started because I see a lot of my Black immigrant family who are worshiping, a lot of our leaders here in America, and I had to make the point that if you take our leaders here in Black America and replace them with your African leadership, you will still suffer. The only difference is, well, they're already doing that in some places, but the only real major difference is that men will be allowed to wear dresses. You'll just see more men in dresses. That would be the main difference. If we take our Black leadership and put them in Africa. Now, I like the guy in Dallas who switched from Democratic to Republican. I like the guy in Dallas who switched from Democrat to Republican. I like him. But if you look, and we're going to start with San Francisco because we were in San Francisco yesterday. Well, with the topic, the amount of crime that's going on in San Francisco that's unchecked. I mean, to the point where rental car companies are telling you, are discouraging you, do not rent cars and do rideshare because of the break-ins. Or if you rent a car, leave your windows down and your trunk open so the glass won't get broken. That is what's going on right now. You have anchor stores, department stores, grocery stores who are leaving these communities because of the crime. Target in Harlem, all these Targets in Harlem are leaving. Whole Foods leaving. Starbucks leaving. And you can say what you want because it's not a good look for your city when these companies are leaving. And the reason why I say that, because the argument was, Dynast, the reason why there's so much crime is because there's no jobs in the community. So you have these corporations are coming in, providing jobs. And yeah, you might have to catch the bus to the job, but it's still a job. And now with all these places closing down, it's going to lead to people not having employment and an uptick in even more crime, even though the crime is out of control. Okay, Jonathan, you got to let me know how to get the Belgium. But Belgium is cold, man. Belgium is cold. That's why I got to do Southern Europe, man. I'm not doing no cold countries. All right. I'm not doing any cold, freezing countries. That's why I have to do Southern Europe, that Portugal, Spain. I'm not really a big fan of Italy. So we'll say Portugal and Spain, like that right in there. That's what I have to do. That's what I got to do. I'm not doing Belgium. Belgium is just it's too cold. Not excited about Belgium at all. But anyways, and I really noticed this because in 2013, I think that was during or after the Mike Brown situation, there is a move, from the Nation of Islam and other, black organizations to boycott these businesses because they're not speaking on black issues and shut down these businesses because they're not speaking on black issues. But we're spending our black dollar there. So it was. Listen, all of my other citizenships are going to be on the other side of the Atlantic because I plan on, my son, he'll be 10 in December. Once he gets 18, I'm going to be spending the majority of the rest of my life on the other side of the Atlantic. That's the plan. I want to be on the other side of the Atlantic. Guys, there's 71 people watching. There better be 71 likes. Please hit the like button and don't be stingy. Hit the Cash App and also Super Chat. But the argument was we're spending our black dollar here, but they're not supporting black issues. So let's boycott them and get them shut down. So at this time, the mother of my child was pregnant. and I was still in LA. Mother of my child was in Atlanta. So once a month, I will go back and forth. I will go to Atlanta to check. I will fly to Atlanta to check in. So I remember going to Walmart off of Cascade and seeing nothing but black people who were working at this Walmart. And I said, hold on. If we boycott Walmart, if we shut down Walmart, these black folks are going to be out of work. So it defeats the purpose. It defeats the purpose of boycotting Walmart. If here we go. If we can't get these black people gainfully employed outside of Walmart by a black business, it defeats the purpose of shutting down Walmart and boycotting Walmart. That's why I do not agree with these boycotts. And the reason why I don't, because in order to, if you take from the cookie jar, you got to replace. What's the saying, guys? Help me out. If you remove the cookie, you got to replace the cookie. If you take from the cookie jar, you got to replace the cookie or something. You guys know what I mean. So you got to have a solution. And just to be honest, there's no solution. Okay. So I do not support boycotting these businesses because if it's all about jobs and opportunity for the black community, it defeats the purpose to boycott and have these businesses shut down. So that's why I don't support it, the whole boycott situation. So you have these cities, urban cities, where you have black leadership, where crime is out of control, immigration is going unchecked. All these anchor stores are now leaving, and black people are suffering the most, but you have black leadership. San Francisco, I don't even know black people even live in San Francisco anymore. You have the Fillmore district, you had black communities in San Francisco, they're all gone. Same thing in New York. Chicago, black people are complaining about immigration and crime, and you have stores shutting down. And listen, so here in Atlanta, even after Eric Johnson says that untapped immigration is going to destroy New York, you have black people in Chicago who are complaining about the illegal immigration situation. In Atlanta, even after all the warnings, Atlanta says, it's a good idea. Let's give $7 million towards illegal immigration. Who's the mayor? Andre Dickinson, something. Yeah, Andre. But John, you got to admit the black population in San Francisco has shrunk tremendously. Same thing with LA. Just the Bay Area in general. Let me play this video real quick. Hold on, let me play this video. And I played this yesterday.
Introducing custom t-shirts. Sticker Mill makes it easy to turn any design into a custom shirt.
I spoke to the man who shot the video, and he's a former news photographer. He says he shot it to raise awareness and as a public service. It's already had more than 1 million views on YouTube. Let's take a look. The video starts with items being taken out of this vehicle. The former photographer says he started shooting the video when he saw a person driving and another hopping out to break into cars at Fisherman's Wharf. This is on North Point near Powell Street. And you can see the person in the mask hop out of the white Lexus and peek into cars at metered spots. Some they break into and others they don't. We can only assume that they saw nothing inside to take. And we can count the cars they hit up. This white SUV is the second one in less than 30 seconds. As the car drives by a hop-on, hop-off big bus, you can see it speed past people on a pedicab. And look here. You can see the man reach into this blue SUV where it looks like there is some.
Guys, this is broad daylight. This is broad daylight, high noon. Like a drive-through at McDonald's. At least in Africa, no one's just gonna watch this shit and let it slide. They're getting jungle justice. They're getting jungle justice. Try some shit like this in some areas in Africa. It's straight jungle justice. Here in America, in some of these cities, was it no cash, no bail cat, no cash bail, or what's it called? You get a slap on the wrist. You get a slap on the wrist. And this is broad daylight. Hold on. See, this is the problem. Wow. What a berating title targeting African American leadership when African countries are thriving without oversight from foreign countries' input. See, this is the problem. You don't want to have an honest conversation. Look at this. Broad daylight.
Someone inside. There's a hand right there, and you can hear someone screaming. And they keep going, making a dangerous turn. Here, they don't break into the white SUV after looking inside, and that's when the recording stops. 3 cars broken into in less than 2 minutes. The man who shot the video told me he didn't feel in danger but stopped recording in case his luck ran out. He also told me he took the video to police and they said they know this is happening. Returning to the area the next day, he says there was added police presence. Overall, he said this is just a sad situation and he hopes people are aware it's happening.
So pretty much San Francisco, you can just drive, la 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 la, car, drive around, break into cars nonchalantly, you know, just drive around and break into cars. I mean, you can't make this shit up. And they will make and these leaders will make every excuse in the book. They'll make every excuse in the book to justify not to justify, but why they can't stop it or there's nothing they can do about it. You can't make this up. Same thing's going on in New York. In fact, hold on. Let's go back to Chicago.
Officials tonight said Daly College is an ideal location because it's move-in ready and a fraction of the cost of a hotel. But many in the crowd didn't want to hear it.
When do citizens of the United States of America come first?
On the southwest side, city officials getting an earful.
How about this? Give them all these politicians' addresses and put them in their backyards, in their basements, in their houses.
This meeting at Richard J. Daley College comes as the city, starting as early as this weekend, prepares to use this gymnasium until August 1st and 2 auxiliary classrooms on the campus through the end of November to shelter more than 400 migrants.
This is about being human and providing humane spaces for them.
I serve my country. We need to give these immigrants a chance.
But the debate igniting anger about how the city for decades has treated its poor.
We do not take care of our own people.
There's no resources taken from our shelter system and the housing within our shelter system, as well as outreach agencies who are providing services on the street.
This gathering comes a day after the city council at a heated meeting approved $51 million in emergency migrant funding. That money only expected to last through the end of this month.
You speak very much about the money. It's our money. Every dollar you give is our money.
All right, like I said, with Chicago, this is what you guys voted for. Like this is what you guys voted for. So yeah, let the migrants move them to Chicago. That's what they voted for. I'll put the link in the chat room. If you guys want to call in and have the conversation, you're more than welcome to call in and have the conversation. I'll put the link. I'll put the link in the conversation. Again, I'll put the link in the Man, Jonathan, your trip to America has made you turn a new leaf, man. Man, look at Jonathan Miller. I will call in, but this baby's acting up. Black Beauty, you got a baby? You got a kid? Black Beauty, you have a baby? Black Beauty, hold on. When were you pregnant? I didn't know you were pregnant. You were ever pregnant, Black Beauty? Never knew you were pregnant. All right, guys, links in the chat room. If you want to call in after the conversation, you can. Please click on the link. If you want to call in and after the conversation, you can. Now, with everything that's going on in Chicago and New York, everything that's going on in Chicago and New York, this is what Atlanta decides to do. Black leadership. This is what Atlanta decides to do. And I live in Atlanta. Homelessness everywhere. Why? You trying to get me? No, he said something about a baby. Something. Oh, you watching your neighbor's baby? Baby. Okay. Oh, hey, there you go. You got a suitor, Black Beauty. Jonathan Miller said, "I'll get you pregnant, Black Beauty." There you go. There you go. There you go. So this is what Atlanta decides to do.
Think you know Wix. Do you really? First up, we've got
5, Atlanta's mayor is preparing for migrants from the southern border to come to Atlanta.
Mayor Andre Dickens asked for, and the city council has approved, nearly $7 million for shelter in area hotels, food, and other necessities. Fox 5's Morse Diggs joins us live in Northeast Atlanta with all the details. Morse.
The nation's mayors, they meet twice a year and they talk in between. Andre Dickens knows all about the pressures on New York City from this migration, and he wants to make sure nothing like that happens here. Almost nightly, when the numbers run high, the influx of migrants shown on your TV screens. It was a Texas governor, frustrated with the Democratic administration in Washington, who was first to try to change the equation and send thousands to northern cities. In New York, one of the landing spots, the bills and the population are piling up.
I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City.
I reject that notion to use language that this will destroy the fabric of America. America was built upon immigrant labor.
Hold on. I thought America was built by the slaves. I thought America was built by black slaves and they owe us reparations. That's what I thought. Hold on. I thought America was built on the back of black slaves. So you have the mayor of New York saying this is not a good idea. Meanwhile, you got black people in Atlanta telling you that America was built by immigrant labor. But I thought black slaves built America. I thought we built this country. That's what she said. This is what I don't know who this is. Well, hold on, let me move this real quick. I'm guessing she's an elected official. This is what she said. I'm just going off what she said. I thought it was the slaves who built America. Let's read super chat. You're comparing African Americans to Africans as if these issues aren't seen everywhere you find leadership. Competent leadership is lacking in African, Haiti, Jamaica, everywhere you lead. Really, I agree. I don't disagree with you. I agree.
Atlanta Councilwoman Keisha Waits and her colleagues supported Mayor Andre Dickens' initiative to fund at nearly $7 million a program to shelter migrants who make it to Atlanta.
I spent several years serving with the Federal Emergency Management Agency. I stand behind this mayor in terms of the decision to put this funding forward. At the end of the day, these are families. These are human beings.
The Atlanta cash secured with a federal grant will go to a half dozen organizations who will feed the individuals, put them in hotels, and meet other needs. The president decided to elevate some of the migrants who crossed over and give them a limited status.
Work permits, you allow people to then, they're seeking gainful employment, but you're not going to be deported. You're sort of part of this economy in the United States and in the state of Georgia at this point, but it doesn't bestow on you citizenship rights, right? You can't vote.
So, if you have family members who have arrived in Georgia or are headed here, check out our website this evening. We will put the full list of those service organizations who are getting.
Go ahead, Kofi.
Peace, man. Peace, man.
Peace, bro.
Coming in from Ghana.
Okay.
I feel after the Latins are done with America, you're gonna have kids running around named Tyrone Vargas and Keisha Martinez. It's just gonna be one big ass Brazil. Damn near. It's gonna be 50 shades of black. From albino to mulatto to octoroon. Talking about we FBA. My great grandma was born in South Carolina, and
No, it was a sharecropper. We were sharecroppers.
2% FBA.
They were sharecroppers in South Carolina. Sharecroppers.
Man, it's talking about white in the race. That's exactly what's gonna go on. And what one of my things was to get to Africa so I could blacken up my lineage down the line. And I feel like our ancestors would be turning over in their graves if we just keep on mix it in. Next thing you know, we're gonna be a couple of blends past Steph Curry. That's where we're going. And then we're gonna finally come back to Africa, and they're not gonna be able to identify us. They're gonna be like, "You the white man, right? But you're white." That's what they say to me. I'm not a Bruni. I'm Black American. But they be like, "But you're white," and that's just how it's gonna be. And on the topic of replacing African leaders with Black American leaders, I feel like we're gonna change a lot of things. We're gonna put some surveillance cameras in. We're gonna try to end corruption. But one of the major things that we're gonna have to face are the masses of people on the African continent. Are they gonna accept us? We don't necessarily identify as a certain tribe, a certain ethnic group. We just identify as Black. And I think we'll be great leaders. I think we're gonna get in there. We're gonna whip ass, and we're gonna hold people accountable. We're gonna hold Black people on the African continent accountable. And I think that shit's gonna be ugly. But give us 50 years, give us 100 years rule, and I think it will be the greatest thing to happen. Right. You're gonna get the indigenous people crying and shit, saying, "Oh, they enslaved us. They enslaved us." Like, no, we didn't enslave y'all. We just took our monies from slavery and brought it back to the continent. What goes around comes around. Like, we back, baby. We back, man. I think that's how it's gonna be. That's how it was in Liberia, and with the exception of African indigenous people. I think I actually think the Africans in the US and in the UK are very, very talented. So you're gonna get that diaspora coming back and changing things. They're just gonna blame everything on African Americans. They're always gonna find a way to just blame things on African Americans. pretty much. But it's really gonna be the African diaspora.
So thank you, Dynas, for allowing me up to have this political discussion.
No problem. 1 second, guys. Hit the like button. There's over 100 people watching. I need you guys to please hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, Mr. Research, go ahead.
So let's have a political discussion for the benefit of the audience. There are a lot of African Americans who understand politics and the structure and the culture of the way politics works. All right. Are we perfect at it? No. But we're at a stage since the 2009 recession where you're having more and more Black men specifically being what the 1950 Black Americans used to be before all of the policies. And let me give the audience information. The only reason African Americans were in a prior dire situation is because we had to survive the Ronald Reagan policies. We had to survive the Bill Clinton policies. And if you're not a political person and you're just looking at everything as get the money, then you don't understand how a policy can change your whole organic being. Let me point to the continent for this one little minute thing. Africans wearing British wigs during Parliament or during legal matters. That is a policy that was implemented that the African took on. And still to this day, in many parts, not all, has not gotten rid of that policy. The same thing is true if I say you can't keep a piece of gold that you found underneath your house. You can't keep a piece of a diamond that you found in your backyard. That is a policy. So when you have policies here in America and the ability to explain policies the way that I'm doing now, you have a better understanding. I'm going to share the mic and say this last thing. The problem is we got a lot of goofy people who want to crack jokes as opposed to read. We got a lot of combative people that want to snicker and make backhanded comments instead of being intellectual. And because of that, it's hard for people to learn how politics work, because the only way they can be part of some of these conversations is to be backhanded, make jokes, or things of that nature. So I'm proud of you for having this conversation. The Liberian contract, the tire contract in Liberia gave Liberia the economy that it really had until you got rid of the grandson who started the contract, and now you've had a lot of dysfunction ever since.
No, I disagree. The dysfunction happened after the 1980 coup.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. When the grandson was in his bed, deleted in his bed. Yeah, I'm talking about that. So I'm gonna pass the mic, but you can't delete people in the continent and not have the ability to know the politics that protect the people. You can't have the Arab nation come and dictate to you, like what's going on in Sudan, how you need to operate. This is not understanding politics. And if you're just a person who wants to get money, we all understand being poor, but don't let poor get you and your grandchildren manipulated into being servants. So this is why African Americans would understand it a slightly bit better. I pass the mic.
Let me read the super chat, and I pass it to Jonathan. The Africans I met are more white identified than white people. They are duplicitous, and what lies beneath their pious humility is anger. I don't be meeting these white African immigrants, man. I don't know. That's your experience. I mean, I've met a couple coons here and there, but I don't be meeting these white identified African immigrants like you guys claim you do. All right, John, go ahead, Jonathan Miller.
I think African Americans would do a better job at leading Africa than the locals, for the most part, primarily because I think we're more resilient people. Not saying that we're more resilient than them, but I think we got a lot more skills in terms of being able to develop the continent. The things that we learned over here, we tend to take for granted. Like when we took science classes when we were young. I'm pretty certain. I don't know if it's like this for you. Well, you from Sacramento, right?
Yeah, I'm from Sac.
So we probably had the same classes to a degree in which we're learning like you learn how to start electricity when you was in like elementary school or how to lay concrete or some shit like that. We learned these things when we were young. We probably didn't keep with it, but we learned a lot of it. They don't teach that in their schools over there. You got to go to like a university to try to get some of that knowledge. I think we got the basic skills a lot of us can do over there. And I think we should do it. We don't do it though, but we should do it. That would be the big difference makers in black people going to Africa. In comparison to Africans, they don't really have much to offer America. America got it all.
Right.
At that point, you're just cheap labor. And we'll take cheap labor because I know a whole lot of people. It's not even just Africans, it's Indians. I got a lot of Indian friends. They come over here on these 15-year visas, no citizenship, hard to sponsor someone to come over here and all of that shit. And they getting paid crumbs in comparison to the locals.
Yes, sir. Guys, hit the like button and also links in the chat room if you want to call in after the conversation. Please call in after the conversation. Hit the like button. Now, Mr. Research, what's your thoughts on the situation in California, in San Francisco with the crime? Right? Because Mr. Research, you're still in San Francisco, right?
I'm in the Bay Area, yeah.
In the Bay. What are your thoughts as far as like the crime and everything that's going on?
Absolutely. But first, let me get to what the gentleman said about the people coming over.
Okay.
People coming over and I just did this with the Black Brain Trust. People coming over have a flag culture hustle. Okay. You and I talked about this when I did the certified game with you years ago. A flag culture is people who are people who are in manager roles, pulling their people in regardless of skill set. Many times people from Pakistan, India are being pulled in, and then you as the black or the white person or the Latin person have to train them on the stuff they don't know, which begs the question, how did you get past the interview thing if I got to train you? If you're supposed to be the best of the best, why do I have to school you? And you'll say, well, that goes on anywhere. You're right. We used to have on-the-job training. We used to hire not by skill set, but by desire, loyalty, and aptitude. So now we're hiring allegedly the best of the best. Why do I need to train them? You should be able to just plug them in. So there's a hustle going on with these cultures coming in. I work in medical. You got whole departments that are Chinese. Doesn't mean they're the most educated. I have 5 certifications. I know more than most of the Chinese people I know. But how did they get in? Well, because this guy's from Wuhan. This guy's from Yellow River. This guy's from Hong Kong. And then you find out the manager's from Yellow River. The manager's from Hong Kong. So black men are very slow to understand some of these things. So I just wanted to say it to the public. Now, San Francisco, I'm going to wrap it up by saying this. Technology in Silicon Valley has not paid its taxes for 16 years. They've been dodging taxes for 16 years. They've been destabilizing the place since 2008. So this homelessness that you see is a combination of disenfranchised workers who used to get some of the on-the-job training positions back in the day. This is also people who are not lazy or just whatever. We got a fentanyl problem. We got a crack cocaine fentanyl problem. So what you see is just the people doing that. Lastly, we got the National Guard here in San Francisco helping to solve some of the problems in the Tenderloin. But please understand, this is culture. We have developed a culture here in San Francisco where we haven't did what was necessary before Mayor Breedlove took office. So now she's trying to fix it. Now the Silicon Valley people are at what, 20% unemployment and trying to go to Texas. Texas is going to remind them that they don't run nothing in there. And so I think you'll see changes. I would say by 2028, San Francisco will have some major changes for the good, because they're going to have to lock people up. They're going to have to remove people off the street, because that's how they used to do it in the 80s. Remember, I study a lot of political history.
Wow, that's deep. Greetings, everyone.
Peace.
Dynast. How are you, brother? I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm doing great, man.
Good, good. I'm gonna try to join you guys one of these seasons to, maybe Nigeria.
Man, come to you look like a Zanzibar type. Come to Zanzibar. Come to Zanzibar next month. Come to Zanzibar
Okay.
next month.
I gotta make these clothes and sell them, so I'm deep in that. But I'm from the Bay Area, and I left the Bay Area in 2016. Around 2016. I've been in New York since. But from a little community called East Palo Alto, which is about 30 miles south of San Francisco.
Well, East Palo Alto used to be the track. Guys, listen. So when I used to run track, we have track meets in the Bay Area. East Palo Alto, which is crazy, is next to Palo Alto, where Stanford is. East Palo Alto used to be the trap. Well, I mean, the trap. God, y'all don't understand how back in the day, how hood the Bay Area used to be. You had Pittsburgh, you had Richmond, of course, Oakland, parts of San Francisco, East Palo Alto,
Vallejo.
Vallejo. You know what? And you're gonna disagree with me, Jonathan. I don't consider Vallejo the Bay.
I consider Vallejo the Bay. I don't consider like Fairfield the Bay.
See, that's the thing. If you consider Vallejo the Bay, you got to consider Fairfield.
Only because they connected to the water.
You got to consider Fairfield and Travis the Bay too.
See, all of these other areas, they used to be like very, very bad and dangerous. They're not as bad. They're starting to get bad, but they're not as bad. I would never be like,
Well, I mean, you have to tell
things were
folks.
better off years ago when they used to average like 200 something homicides. Richmond was just killing.
Well, you got to give a balanced perspective. You got to give a little history of each of these areas. So for me, coming up in the 70s, I was a kid in the 60s, real like elementary school. So 70s, junior high, high school. East Palo Alto was known as Little Nairobi because we had Nairobi Village, was a shopping market area that we named it Nairobi Village, but because we had a junior college in East Palo Alto called Nairobi College. It was an actual junior college that was started by Black folks. Was held in houses. We had our classrooms were houses, converted houses. What else? We became so that set a precedent, but it wasn't just East Palo Alto. It was also progressive groups in different parts of the Bay Area. San Francisco State was doing its thing, creating the School of Ethnic Studies, boycotting back in the 70s, 60s, 70s. So we had all of these different progressive elements. So East Palo Alto, known, in 92, 93 was known as the nation's murder capital because we had 42 homicides in 1 year. If you know East Palo Alto from that, then you're going to have the perspective that East Palo Alto was rough, tough, and it was a lot of, negativity going on, and then the following year we had 2 deaths, and that was from domestic, fights with husband, wives kind of stuff. But so we became a city in 86. I think about 86, we became a city, right? We were an unincorporated area. We became a city. And I had the experience of seeing Black folks go from a progressive, we were doing this, junior college and all of these other things, to becoming a city, to trying to handle, our own police department, our own fire department, our own water company. So we had all of these things going on as an African American community, yet I saw the evolvement of how we became gentrified and how our city became 80% African American, and then later it's now probably 12 to 15% African American and mostly Hispanic, but we also have Pacific Islanders. So this is something that is not unique to just East Palo Alto. These kinds of pockets were happening all over the country with Black folks doing progressive things. So when you look at that and you study that and you learn from that, you can learn a lot of how we were infiltrated, how we were undermined, how the attack against us. Because mind you, if we are left alone, we can actually build our institutions in our communities and try to go to that next level, which is the economic. But it seems that, and I'm watching this firsthand, how these outside forces, names, foundations that are like getting funds from larger foundations, and the things that they're doing to sort of undermine us in ways direct and indirect. So I just wanted to bring that little history about the Bay Area, so that and most of the people from East Palo Alto left San Francisco. So we lived in Hunters Point in the 60s. We lived in the projects in Hunters Point in the 60s. And most of those people in that area from Louisiana, Texas. So this is the population. San Francisco, Oakland, we're mostly from Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi. It's a culture, man, and it's a lot of history. So we have to begin to tell the full history. And then now we can start talking about these questions about how we can go into Africa and be useful, be helpful in Africa. Because if we go in with the mentality that we have now, probably if we study Liberia, we could potentially make some of those same mistakes, but more in the context of a contemporary. Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead, Larry. Well, Larry, you got to mute yourself.
Yep. Hi. Hello, Dynast. Fine, thanks. Fine. I was just here to answer your question. If you replace African leaders with Black American leaders, Africans would still suffer. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say anything good about African leaders. I guess I'm biased, having grown up under military dictatorships. So if the Americans came over, Black Americans came over, would it be better? Would Africans still suffer? I don't know. I mean, I listen a lot to you Black Americans talk about your people, like I was listening earlier, and I don't really hear you say anything positive about your leaders. I don't hear you say anything like positive about Brandon Johnson in Chicago or Eric Adams in New York. You don't talk highly about the Black Caucus. You don't talk highly about Black Americans.
I'm interrupt right there.
The Black Caucus are sellouts.
Let me
exactly.
Larry. No. Every year, once a year, the Black Caucus puts on an event called Caucus Weekend in Washington, D.C. And that shit is off the chain. Outside of that, I have no clue what they do. But Black Caucus Weekend in Washington, D.C., off the chain.
Okay.
And I think you got to give us our leaders a little bit of a break. The difference between Black American leaders and the African leaders, y'all actually over there, they control the country. Over here, I mean, we may be able to get some shit pushed through, but we got to wiggle with nothing but white people for the most part. So it's kind of hard to do anything for the most part.
But
so it's not like they can. It's not like they can actually accomplish something. We're 14% of the population.
But that's
over
what
there,
I'm saying.
it's like 99.9. I mean, they should be booming over there.
Yeah, but they're not. You're not going to get me defending them. I think they're trash. But like I said, I'm biased. I've been affected by living under dictatorships. But I'm saying if we're going to look at Black Americans doing well there, which is like, yeah, cool. I was gonna ask you guys, are there any Black Americans, say over the last 30, 40 years, who you could look at as a template, who would go over there and change things because they did things successful in America?
So you had Maynard Jackson here in Atlanta.
Maynard Jackson.
I think the lady did good too, Dynast. The lady, his business treasurer. She became mayor.
Who? Shirley Maynard Jackson, right?
Yeah, Maynard Jackson's treasurer.
You talking about Shirley Franklin?
Shirley Franklin. I think Shirley Franklin did well.
Okay. Well, yeah, Shirley. It's
managing.
I mean, we got a lot of black leaders over here that don't really get the spotlight because when they are pro-black, I mean, it's not really the person that the Democrats nor the Republicans will want to put in the spotlight like that.
Let me get a
But
brother.
if you look at black communities in majority black cities, a lot of it, crime has always been reduced. For the most part, it gets smaller, gets smaller. We have our moments when it shoots up. But where there are black leaders in the city that's majority black, it's it's bad because obviously who the hell wants killing in their neighborhood? You're not going to get rid of all killings. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to get rid of all gangs. But we have progress, a lot of progress. And for the most part, I look at people like me or people in my situation. I grew up in the hood. We were all like young, retard, gangbangers and shit. And then out of nowhere, by the time we probably hit 30, I know people that went to prison for shooting up shit. Now they got college degrees. They teaching down there in St. Mary's in LA. Or another one that's a gang member. He's a filmmaker in LA. Or me, he used to be stupid. I mean, I travel the world and I do it, and I'm in tech now. It's not like we just stay that way. I mean, we got some dumbasses that do stay that way. They don't come out of it. But we eventually evolve. We don't stay the same.
Let me give you some information because I think you ask a valid question and Jay does make a valid point. You only hear the goofy, crack a joke people the loudest. That's why you only hear that stuff. Because the serious, mature speakers are in mature, serious circles. They're not in the goofy, loud, I gotta be seen, let me crack a joke circles. And the let me crack a joke people, it's like a disease. They want to attack an Al Sharpton, even though white folks fear Al Sharpton. But then the
Man,
goofy
white
person,
folks ain't scared of Al Sharpton.
wait a minute. I can go down that rabbit hole and show you how, but let me finish this point. Even if you don't like Al Sharpton, pick whoever. Okay. My point is that there are people that white folks fear, and we as black folks want to remove certain folks without already having a person to slide in and take the mantle. I've been around politics for a decade plus. I can do a lot for you, but guess what? You're gonna crack jokes. You're gonna defame my image. Yet at the same time, you're gonna ask, why ain't I doing stuff? Why ain't I helping? It's a conundrum. And lastly, to answer your question, just like with the Palo Alto situation, Palo Alto's like what, 26, 32 blocks.
East Palo Alto.
That's what I mean. East Palo Alto. It's like 26, 32 blocks. They had a culture that devolved when the young boys didn't have no jobs over there. When the young boys didn't have anything to really go do, and all these other areas like Palo Alto, Stanford started building up what they built up for their people. We went through a 80s and 90s situation where because you had a certain appearance, regardless of your willingness to work and do right and not steal and not create a problem, people disenfranchised against you because of that. A lot of people don't understand that because they don't understand politics is a appearance thing. It's not real. It's identity politics. That's what politics is. It's been like that for a long time. So I'm going to end by saying this. If you just understand like what's going on with Israel, hey, Black Lives Matter made one post, but we as the white Americans, we're going to ignore that Harvard has 31 organizations making the same claim for Palestine. We're going to ignore that Queer Lives Matter is walking around, the queer people are walking around here say queer for Palestine. We're going to ignore all that, and we're going to focus on this minute thing, Black Lives Matter, and then weaponize that against our white constituents and get them angry. Because we don't want our white constituents to know that queers are doing the same thing. Harvard is doing the same thing. We don't want them to know that. That's why all politics are identity.
Well, I have to agree with you in some way. I mean, I need to hear what you said over again to really analyze it. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up was the fact that it was not only the fact that the economic situation was not in any way sustainable. I mean, we didn't have any jobs in our community. We always had to go out. But it was also the fact that they closed our one high school down, and we were bussed out. I was the second year that the busing was happening. So a year before the high school was closed. So maybe 2 years later, we were forced to be bussed out. You know, and they were actually busing white kids into Ravenswood High School. And before they start busing white kids in, before they start fixing up the school a little bit, you know, they were fixing up Ravenswood for the white kids to come in, and the black kids, you know, protested because they're like, why are you fixing the school up now? Because we have white kids. So they had white kids in maybe 1 or 2 years, and then they closed the school down and they shipped out black kids. Now, mind you, it's 30,000 people in this community, 2.5 square miles. 28 to 30,000 people, right? So they bust all of these black kids out to Sequoia Union High School District. And I believe I went in with 400 of us went into Woodside High School. When I graduated, it was 40 black kids that graduated. 400 of us went in and 40 black kids graduated. Now there's reasons why, other than the fact that, you know, kids dropped out. But again, that was like an awakening, but part of the problem for us too was the fact that, you know, when they closed our high school down, it just really changed messed a lot of things up for us on top of. So here I'll end and say this: even though we control the politics in East Palo Alto, the decisions that we had to make in order to keep the city alive sort of sold us out in a way. And it was by design. This is the attack on black folks. So they see us about to become a city. The neighboring cities, Palo Alto and Menlo Park, decide to make a deal, and they annexed on the part of the unincorporated area that was generating income, which was the golf course and the small airport, right? And then the other black community that was actually it was in Menlo Park officially. It was underserved, just like we were. So the city of Menlo Park, which was wealthy, was not giving services to the black part that was next to East Palo Alto. So that divided that part of East Palo Alto. That divided that part of the black community because it was in Menlo Park, and they also had a portion of business that was generating a lot of money in Menlo Park, where black people live. So here you are, you have East Palo Alto that now just is becoming a city, loses whatever potential money to keep the buildings, to keep the thing going. But South Africa does not control the economics. It controls the politics. And it's beginning to falter. Just, it reminds me of East Palo Alto. And Dynas, I want to bring up something about, but later, I want to bring up something about Donald Trump and that Global Fragility Act that he okayed in 2019. But anyway, that was it. I just wanted to say that even though you control your politics, you also have to control your economics. Otherwise, it don't make no sense.
Shout out to
Thanks.
KJ. Thank you for the super chat. Thanks for the show. As always, great information. Big up, bro. Larry, you got anything else you want to add, Larry?
Yes, I wanted to say thanks very much for the information on Maynard Jackson. I'm gonna look at him to see how.
Yeah, so you have Maynard Jackson, Mr. Research. Who was the mayor of DC that got caught smoking crack?
We don't want him coming to Africa.
Marion Barry.
But listen, Larry. But before the crack incident, he was actually a good mayor, from what I was told.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Am I right, Mr. Research?
No, he was mathematically, he put forth policies that helped the city. I think people get caught up that a human had a private addiction that he could not control.
So then, Dynast, since all of you guys are probably agreed, you all know about the problems you as people have to deal with, your ancestors had to deal with in America with white supremacy. So you're well versed in how it behaves. How would your American leader deal with that in Africa, because Africa deals with that as well, neo-colonialism. So the whites are involved in they're behind the scenes, but they're still changing things up economically and politically. So am I right in assuming that a Black American leader would be smart enough to know how to deal with that stuff in Africa?
Well, it would have to be a brave leader. It would have to be a leader who is not just dancing. The first thing I would tell you, like I said to a couple of people in the chat room, I have to do something for these boys. That's my first thing. I have to do something for these boys. So every time a boy is born, that's either going to be our hero or he's going to be a villain from his starvation and stress. We as a community here in America also, we have to remove the Black boy's stress so he doesn't become a villain. How we used to do that, we used to make sure the Black boy had some type of investment in the community by the time he was 16. Summer jobs, things of that nature. Now, not everybody had that, but more of the thriving cities did. And I'm gonna give up the mic and say, the other thing I would do is I would look at policies that are 10 and 20 and 50 years old and say, why are we still doing that? Why are we still having toll booths? Nigeria back in November gave the surveillance of the toll booths to Hawaii Corporation in China. Why do that? You mean there's no Nigerian brothers with the company that can survey? Dynast doesn't know nobody that can survey. You ain't got no Ghana Americans or Zimbabwe Americans that got a company that can survey. I would put everything internal, just like a union. If you're part of Liberia, I'm hiring Liberians first, external Liberians second, international Liberians third, and if none of them are able to do it, then I'm going to go to the outside people like the Americans and then the white Americans and so on and so forth. So we got to understand the politics and how things are implemented rather than the TV knowledge of assuming how things go.
Well, the leaders that could lead, that would be best to lead, are not the ones that are coming to the forefront, right? It's the ones that come from these aristocracies, at least in Africa, are the quote, the kind of boule here. But here's the thing: I think we should look more to our academic leaders, people like if John Henry Clark was alive, people like James Smalls, people like these would be better leaders to me than the people who are in these government, who are in our government now. The Sheila Lee Jacksons and the what's the brother y'all mentioned a minute ago in here in New York. These kinds of people they're cool, but they don't have enough information. So for me, people who are in the Black intelligentsia that are politicized and Afrocentralized would be better leaders in Africa, because I think they would understand more about how to go in, how to relate the problems with neo-colonization, history. All of those things are the things that we learned in Black studies. So really, if you take someone who's in the community in Black studies, they usually don't come to the forefront of leading a community because it's fear. The people fear those type of people, and usually they don't want to lead a regular, American political situation, city, or places like that, because they understand the nature of it. So, but I think they would be the ones that we should bring to that kind of situation.
Dynas, you can hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. First, I'm gonna say this. I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of different people in Africa, but East Africa in particular, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda. And when you go to correct them, the first thing they say is, this is Africa. This is the African way. Doesn't matter if you write about the situation, they tell you this is the African way. Well, just because it's the African way, don't mean that it's right. Just because you're used to doing something, don't mean it's correct. So I think African Americans coming from the West without a lot of that um, tradition that Africa can have some beneficial changes because, for instance, if a woman want a job in Africa, a lot of the times she got to get busy with the manager, and if she don't, she get fired. You don't have a lot of that in America.
That's not true, bro. That's not true.
You don't have a lot of that in America. That's illegal.
That's not true. That's not true. What you said about Africa, that's not true.
Dinas, I know several people that's going through this now.
Man, listen, I worked in corporate America. It happens in corporate America too.
So you telling me
that's not true?
Hold on.
The problem is that your statement is you're making it seem as if that's the norm.
Yeah, because to Dinah's point, Fox News has eight sexual assault allegations. 8. Most of you are not brave enough to even yell at Fox News and tell them that when they sitting up there talking against black people. I do it all the time.
We not talking about Fox. We talking about
no, we're talking about the point of what
we talking about black folk. I don't care about no Fox.
Here's the problem. Respectfully, and I'm gonna get the microphone back to you. When you're having a conversation about a topic, you cannot pigeonhole it into one demographic, the Asians. You have to unilaterally on a college level talk about the topic unilaterally. You can't talk about Walla Walla Street or JoJo County. You got to talk about the nation. So if you want to pigeonhole it to black folks, you're always setting yourself up to win an argument because you're getting rid of the rest of the mathematical equation. But back to you, sir.
Okay, but anyway, let's go back to the this is Africa. A lot of Africans have a problem with changing the changing and making the culture better than what it is. And African Americans can come in with a sense of fairness, I think, to progress the culture a little bit more. That's what I think. But I'm gonna ask Jonathan. Jonathan, hey, do you have a social media or something like that? I can contact you or something.
Yeah, I got a social media.
What is
Hear that? Y'all hear that? That good old white coked up motherfucker. But it's Jonathan Miller. I'll match this to my normal name.
What? Hold on. What?
I'm getting on the train, bro. I'm getting on the train. Motherfucker, I gotta go ahead and show you.
Motherfuckers just
Look at this
geeked up.
motherfucker.
Yeah, just geeked up. Yeah.
What that shit up, dude? Shut up, motherfucker. I beat your ass.
Is Jonathan Miller on Facebook?
What you gonna do, punk? I'm still hood. I gotta get that out of me. But nah, they don't even really be our people like that. That be on these drugs and shit. Is they? That's why they don't want to criminalize it no more.
Yeah, that's true because they said Black Americans had an all-time high in drug use this year and last year, but I don't see it.
I don't believe that.
I don't see it at all.
Shout out to Mitch McConnell for passing a whole policy to help people on fentanyl and on meth. I wish we had that during the crack cocaine days, but shout out to him during the days of Obama.
You gotta take that up with Joe Biden.
Mitch McConnell for passing that policy to help folks.
You gotta take that up with Joe Biden. You gotta take that up with Joe Biden. President Biden, Sleepy Joe. Well, we didn't have it during the crack cocaine era.
But Dinas, you can't say that they don't be talking about this is Africa.
They all say that.
But we can't do that, Dinas. That's a bad habit. if for instance, customer service, just customer service, things like that. This is Africa. Lord, I don't want to hear that.
Okay, I know. Okay, I hear you. You know what? You got a little of a point there. Yeah, because I experienced some bullshit in Sierra Leone, one of my vendors, and they try to pull this is Africa. I'm like, dude, who the hell you talking to? I travel all over Africa. This shit is unacceptable. So I you got a point there.
Well, he does have a point, but let me just interject this 20-second thing. The people there are operating from a get the money standpoint. They don't realize it's a problem until they're running into what Sudan is running into, where the Arab nation is pushing them down south. You don't realize you're black until other groups start working against you. You think that everybody's all Islam. You think everybody's all Christian until this other group decides to Ku Klux Klan and start working against your group. And you're like, but wait a minute, I got money. I'm successful. We don't care. We're trying to destroy you and give it to our grandson. Nobody understands politics until they're suffering from it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And anyway, far as but African Americans, right? African Americans, we do have a sense of fairness. A lot of the times when people go to jobs for in Africa, they hire their cousins, people they know, stuff like that. People going through that every single day in Africa. And here in America, the best person should get the job. That's
Nah,
how they
come
should
on,
treat.
bro. CD, no. I worked at corporate America. The amount of nepotism that goes on in corporate America, and who do you know? Come on, CD.
No, I can't agree with that.
You see, Dynas, he
I
going
can't.
from the TV knowledge,
I,
Dynas. He don't know what you and I
I
have
can't
been
agree
through.
with that, Dynas.
You
It's a
and
lot
I
of.
have
agree
lived
with
it,
you, Dinah.
Dynas, and he going through the TV knowledge.
I'm not going through the T. I'm talking about people I actually know.
I mean, because if you're not in those circles in a way, if you're not privy to that level of good old boy system, you're not gonna know. But if you kind of grew up around them a little bit, or you were able to kind of get up in those areas, you can see that these same people that went to school with each other, they do end up doing business with each other. They know family members, cousins, and so it's the same thing. It's all about relationships, families, da 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 da. Same thing. It's just
Did you
that they have.
graduate from LSU? I graduated from LSU. Okay, I'm an instant in. Are you from Russia? Okay, bring me straight in, sir. If what the three of us is saying were not true, the EEOC, not us on the panel, the EEOC just launched a program called Erase because they realize it's a problem. You got to do better research, sir. The TV is not a source.
No, where is it on TV that I'm getting this information from? Nowhere. It's nowhere on the TV. Like, stop that. Stop that. Like in Africa, the corruption is crazy. It's everywhere. It's too much.
It's part of a
To where
mindset too, though. It's part of a
to
mindset with the people because it's not only just the leaders, the politicians. They sort of set a precedent. Part of it is something we need to really understand about the ancient culture too. And it's not maybe what we think it is in terms of how things are done. But I tell you one thing, that the people realize that in order to live in this way that they're living in now, where you have bigger populations and they're trying to live in these more modern kind of cities, the old way of water, you got water wells and you're drinking from the aquifers and now you've got more people and you got they dig the holes for the to use the bathroom. They dig the hole in the ground, and if that gets into the aquifer, it starts to. But they know that the people there, they know that, so they know how to do things. However, when things is change is happening, it's more people, it's you're living in a different way, so you got to do things differently, which means now you got to deal with politics, and it's no longer the king. And but one thing is for sure, black folks didn't have prisons, didn't have prostitution like they, all of the kinds of negative things that the Western world had 500 years ago. Africa didn't have those things. And also historically, I've learned through IFAD that the people were more honest. Didn't mean that people didn't lie. But I mean, if you talk to people who know the Twa people, like when I was in the Congo, and they said of the brothers and sisters to the north, they meant the short people, right? They said, and I know one of them, right, in the Congolese community in Oakland. They used to tell me that his people, that them short people in the rainforest, don't lie. They don't tell a lie. I'm like, how do you not tell a lie in a community? So to me, that lets you know that at some point as time went on, now that's the original, one of the original first peoples, like those people, those hunter-gatherers. And they taught a lot of the other people. You got to listen to Obadiah Shaka. He talks about the Twa all the time and how they taught people how to grow food, and all the Africans around how to grow food and different things. But we might have to go back to that. But in Ifa and the Yorubas, they talk about character. Iwa is something, it's not unknown to us. It's something that we do, we do. And I think that as we have gone through colonization, it has broke down a lot of stuff. And the depopulation of taking all the people out of Africa, that would be us here in the Americas, really destroyed and broke down a lot of the cultural mores of the West African peoples, taking all those people out and leaving it to the ones who were in charge, or the ones who were able to be either manipulated or they were greedy. And it's interesting, those are the people who are the people that are in power now, the ones who are complicit and culpable for the few. Now they were the exception for a lot of Africans going through that slavery pipeline. It was the exception to the rule. It mostly was fighting and taking people and battling and fighting, and so anyway, I want to say that. But Dynast, this thing about Republicans versus Democrats and us getting favor from one or the other, to me, it's not much difference, because the same structure, economic, the ones who control the money are the ones who control the politics. So it doesn't matter that if Donald Trump's in office, or maybe a few black owners, business owners, is going to get a little tax incentive break, but they work together. They work in tandem on some level. They're working together.
I disagree, especially with the climate in New York and Chicago right now. It's very clear that the liberal policies are killing them. Very clear.
Singalas, I have to agree with you on that. But because I'm an initiate of Santeria in Palo Mayombe, I have to agree. When the African people had their culture, they tend to be more straight up, honest. It's something about the Christianity that it just do something. Like it just do something to a people afterwards. The morality just goes away. But um yeah, I've met a lot of Ifa priests, and I met a lot of priests of different cultures in Africa. I'm telling you, like I know a priest out there in Nigeria. Dude just break bread with me sometimes. Send me money. Hey man, I thank you for all the help you sent me. Send me $200 just for no reason. Hey man, you helped me out a lot. Just send it. I can send him any amount of money. I didn't send him money. Hey, hold this for me. No money taken. Whatever money I gave him, the same amount of money will be there when I get back. If he do need some money, he'll tell.
We lost you, bro.
Hey, can I borrow this? I'll be like, of course. But when Africa lost its culture through colonization, it did create a lot of corruption in Africa. You know, because they don't have those traditional beliefs anymore.
Yeah, I totally understand the traditions, and that's one thing that continental people have a little bit better than Americans is they have majority of their traditions intact. But I'm studying 3 of the African gods right now that predate Islam. Like this is before 200 BC. We're talking about the god Bumazi. We're talking about the god Happy. Where we're talking about a lot of these things that existed before there was these 2 main religions, well, 3 main religions uh, in the continent. So yes, you do have a point that a person that has traditions. If you're in Sweden, you got traditions. If you're in Iceland, you got traditions. If you're an African, you got traditions. I want to point it back a little bit to politics as it relates to tradition. Look at how the Ethiopians were able to get that dam done over 11 years. That's dedication. I've spoken to so many Ethiopians in Atlanta, Seattle, California, talking about how proud they was to send their little $10 every month for the past 10, 11 years to make sure that got done. That's politics. That's sacrificing. And the idea was by a leader that majority of them didn't like. Picture that. Majority of them didn't like the leader, but they liked the idea that he put forward. So we as people, especially men, we got to get past the combative jokes. We got to get past the insults when you don't understand that a killer whale is a dolphin. It's not really a whale. You got to stop cracking jokes. Nobody did on stage, but I'm just talking about to the masses out there. We got to have intellectual, high-level male conversations like we're having today, where we don't have to agree, but we can politely agree to disagree because the people who are listening need the information. We are going into an era where our great-grandchildren have the ability, after we're all dead, to do way better than us. But we got to get through these childish fistfights, these childish insults, and start talking about power and how to get the non-melanated people working for us the way they used to work for us in the days of Sheba and Punt.
Interesting. Global Fragility Act. Dynasty, are you familiar with that? Did I bring that up in your room last time?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, I thought I brought it up in your room. Well, it is the Global Fragility Act was created in 2019. Donald Trump passed this bill, and it basically is supposed to be this act that's going to help these countries that are having security problems, like Sahel region have security problems with Aswad and with insurgencies and da-da-da-da. Well, the countries that are involved in this Global Fragility Act is, get this, Haiti, Haiti, Papua New Guinea, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Mozambique, and Libya. Look at the countries and Libya. So these are all the partners that have supposedly have joined the Global Fragility Act, and it was Madeleine Albright and some other folks that created this act back in 2019. It seems like it's a think tank or some kind of conservative, group that created this act that was passed bipartisanly in Congress. And so they just brought some information out, and it brought it to the attention of some people. And I think Phillips, the brother named Phil or Philip, who has the African Diaspora channel, whatever, the sister who is one of his people that are anchor for him, I guess, she brought it up, and they recently just mentioned, I think in March they came out with this whole thing of they have a 10-year plan now for this act, and they are going to go forward, I guess, with it. And these are the partnering countries. And of course, we know what this really means. It really means that they're going in with a 10-year plan in order to dig deeper into the neo-colonization of these countries, and to subvert any kinds of progressive things that they're doing that's going to help them to kick that neo-colonization out of Africa. So this is a direct, we need to be very concerned about this. So yeah, I want to bring that.
So let me respond real quick. So this is another Berlin conference. So 2018, they came up with this thought process. How can we sit down and, to your credit, have a think tank so we could talk about how to bring peace to these regions? Now, sounds like a Berlin conference thing to me because it's all about how you apply this peace.
Yeah, but you said that the lead. So correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying that the leaders actually agreed to participate in the participating countries?
Hold on. I'm getting to that part. So in politics, people will say, "Hey, Dynast, I'm going to Sacramento and I'm going to make things better." But what if I'm only talking to the downtown people? I ain't down there at the end of the track talking to them. You see what I'm saying? I ain't talking to Citrus Heights. I ain't talking to so what happens with a lot of these things, they sound good, but it's all about how you're applying. So when I see actual native people on the think tank consistently, not just a once or twice appearance for the camera, then I'm going to say that it's real. Because what happened in the Berlin conference? No Africans were present, not one. So when they do this peacekeeping and all this type of stuff, my question is always, who's going to be consistently on the board? If you go to Haiti, I want to see at least 30, if not 40% natural Haitian people on the board, not being suppressed, to actually be able to speak about what they need to speak about and have their concerns. You can't have a Berlin conference way of saying, hey, I want to put some hotels here. I'm going to give some people jobs. They can work in my hotels. Hey, yeah. And then Larry, he going to come over here and he going to put in some piping and water. It's for everybody. But then as those people start working, I'm going to have them pay for the water in 20 years. This is the Berlin conference scam. I hope it's not, but it's all about how it applies. Go ahead.
Well, with the Berlin conference, Africans were privy at the table. From what the brother described, Africans are going to be at the table. So we'll see.
Well, nothing good can come of this. We already know because of what they have been doing, what they're currently doing. We know, and we have enough information to know that nothing good can come from this act, just like nothing good can come from that bill, the 7311 bill, the countering malign influence of Russia, that was created bipartisanly. I have
Nah, bro, it was a black
Gregory Meeks and
yeah, come on now. He's the one that presented it though.
He created the bill, right? And he sits on a foreign committee, and it is, I can't say he's a coon, but I can say that if you created that bill and you got any love for Africa, and you can see what's going on and what they have planned and what they're doing, what they've been doing, that this is not going to be good. And also mentions African Americans in that bill. It says also to monitor African Americans, Africans in the diaspora in the United States. And do you think they're differentiating between Caribbeans, Indians, freedmen, Negroes, Black Americans, African Americans? You think they're differentiating? No, you're all in one nigga bag.
Like I said,
are you guys talking about the president's advisory council of on African diaspora engagement? Is that what you guys are talking about?
No,
but we can switch to that. Let me just say this thing. My whole thing, once again, it's how these things are applied. It sounds good on paper, but understand many times, ladies and gentlemen, the goal is to make you a low-paid worker. You got to understand that. Some of you will make money, but you got to understand the goal is to make sure that their grandchildren are the managers of your grandchildren. Go ahead, brother. What's that topic you wanted to bring up?
Bro, it don't even sound good
Yes.
on paper.
So AME Bishop Sylvester Beeman named chair of White House Council on African Engagement. And it says it's like a 12-member committee to advise Africans within the Americas, Africans on the continent. They're looking at the African Americans, the descendants of slavery, as the sixth region. And Beeman, it says Beeman has collaborated with Biden and his son. And what is this before the crack smoke, or is this after the crack smoke? I'm just saying. The other members include actress Viola Davis, Spelman College president Helene D. Gale, and WNBA player Chani Ogumike. Oh, I know she's Nigerian. But
So, brother, which one of those people in your research has a business master's or even knows anything about geopolitics?
It's bro. It's all entertainers.
That's what I'm saying.
All entertainers.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And to just have Biden's son thrown in that mix, it's like that's gonna throw off the whole shit. Are they just gonna go ahead and get prostitutes and smoke crack and shit? You have to ask these questions because that's what he's linked to. It's on video. Vice President, I believe Kamala Harris, she's a part of the council.
Wait a minute. Wait. So let me understand. You're saying this council is going to be they're going to be involved in some way in the proposed sixth region of the AU regional thing?
No. I think they're more.
This is a separate thing.
I think they're like supposed to, like, Biden set up this this council to, I guess, engage and help, form, I don't know, policy or reach out and engage Africa, but it's all entertainers.
It's the most part. It's the same thing they used to do back in 300 BC. They send a fat friar pastor over to the area to get everybody feeling good, to see who was an enemy against the policies and who wasn't. And then the fat friar would go back to the king and tell him everything he learned about their weaknesses. They're not doing anything. They're just going over there to entertain and have a feel-good sit down.
I do believe that some of us who go to the African continent and live on the African continent, we as the people, we have to be representations of the government and in the US. We don't have to be a part of the administration, but we could just be our own caucus, if that makes sense. I believe the settlers, they went 20 years without being acknowledged by the United States when they gained sovereignty in Liberia. And I think that's what we have. We have to do the same thing. We definitely have to take our government for ourselves and use it on the African continent, because when the Lebanese travel, when the Chinese travel, they're not leaving. They're not going without the funds of their governments. And I know a lot of retirees getting Social Security, getting all types of benefits to live here, and also getting grants to engage with Africa through exchange classes, what have you. I think low key, we do need to have a source in the United States. For example, let's say we take Robert Smith. We take one of his foundations in Africa. He has a lot of foundations on the African continent, and he's engaging in Kenya very heavy. We need to take that and kind of like run with it. Everyone should have a billionaire in their pocket.
So here's the unfortunate thing, and please, everybody, this is my take. You don't have to take my version of it. You can't go into somebody else's structure and ask them to part with it. We as black males got to dig in our pockets and buy lobbyists. Let me say it again. We do it here in California all the time. This is why California has the most black policies in the entire nation. not New York, not Chicago, not Atlanta, not Texas, California, because we dig into our pockets and we support policies like Crown Act, like 2008 2005 welfare child support reform. We dig into our pockets and we create things that help the entire nation. We got to get more black men to dig into their pockets. A lobbyist only costs $75,000 or $100,000. All they do is go down to your government agency all day long and try to get people to back your policy. But we cannot do the kumbaya thing and say, I'm going to sit on the couch. I don't want to give up no money. And this guy over here, LeBron James, I need him and Rich Paul to give up what they done so that we can do XYZ. We got to be grown adult men and dig into our pockets and buy our own lobbyists. Every group does it.
We don't need to buy our own lobbyists. We need to put together our own lobbyist committee. Buying them other people is really just useless. If we put together our own people that literally have the same ideas that we have, then we don't have to worry about sellout. They can be a lobbyist and still be a sellout.
How does that work, though? I thought lobbyists were just middlemen for big, wealthy companies to, influence the
Nah,
government.
when I was younger, you could actually have a nonprofit organization that'll set up a lobbyist. That's nothing really. That's nothing really special. We just don't do it as black people for some reason. That's neither here or there. But I worked for like a little lobbyist organization when I first graduated out of high school. Now I believe there was a fraud one with some shit called like Peace Action West. We're supposed to be trying to stop wars and shit. The biggest scam the biggest scam I ever worked for. White people. God bless them. But you can easily just set that shit up. You can start a
do the same
nonprofit in
thing for Africa?
California. I mean, realistically, as black people, we need our own organization that fights on our own behalf and then represents us when it goes down to going to other countries. Like, for example, we shouldn't be doing things through the U.S. government. Fuck them. We should be doing shit on our own. Dynasty could be like a representative. He goes to all of those countries and shit. He meets a lot of people. He can build connections on our behalf. And then other people can go to other countries and do the same thing. Stop relying on the government.
So you asked a question about a lobbyist. So it's not just big business. Anybody can have a lobbyist. You got lobbyists.
Yeah, anybody. Come on now.
But that's called a policy advocate.
One of the things that one thing that we get confused is when it comes down to lobbyists, we only think of it in big ass terms. There are local lobbyists that go to city council meetings or meet with the mayor and shit or meet with the governor. There's lobbyists all over the place, even at the county level.
So what I was saying to you, brother, yes, anybody can have a lobbyist. So
yeah, set it up.
No, I was talking to models. I was talking about models. Anybody can have a lobbyist. It's not just big business. So, to his point, to Miller's point, if you want to go through a nonprofit, you still got to pay the lobbyist. The lobbyist's job is to stay at his apartment or condo, wake up every morning at 6 a.m., go down to your city hall or your Congress, wherever he is assigned to go, take whatever policies you have, call it the models policy, and you want to create a recreation center for models, and you want to do, his job is to go down there every morning, shake hands, kiss babies, and get people to sign into legislation your idea on the model recreation center. That's his whole job. And we pay him to do nothing else but that. We don't want him going to work and doing that. That's going to stress him out. We have to use some type of finances to pay him where he can independently work for us for 6 months or a year and just focus on our stuff. Here in the Bay Area, Asian people do that all day long. People say
policy advocate, right? Policy advocate definition: influencing decision makers to affect the outcome of public policy, such as laws and regulations. Citizens often use public policy advocacy to support or denounce policies such as healthcare, education, and environmental regulations. So really a lobbyist official name or technical name is a policy advocate. So if we,
Incorrect.
okay, so what's the difference between the two?
So a advocate is somebody in your region. Let's call it JoJo Street, and they're working. They do the same thing representatives do. But they do it for your agenda. So you'll take somebody. Let's say you're in a cul-de-sac, and this Gonzo cul-de-sac. This advocate will go down, and they'll do all those type of things, but they don't have the access to the room the way a lobbyist does. Lobbyist has credentials that allows them to go through every place in there as if they're part of Congress, as if they're part of City Hall. Your advocate can go no farther than what security allows him to go in public speaking areas. He can go down there and address your City Hall if they're all gathered together having a public gathering, speaking on Treasury or whatever the case may be, but he can't go behind the scenes. That's the difference.
Yeah, how y'all doing? I just wanted to add my piece because I had to go somewhere.
Hey, real quick, Mr. Sandman, real quick, Mr. Research, let me get your opinion. So this is completely off topic. What's going on in Gaza and Israel, Mr. Research? So Israel just struck a hospital in Gaza that killed over 200 people. A hospital just recently, like last hour or so. Like, what are your thoughts on what's going on and how that's going to affect everything? My bad, Mr. Sammy. I just got.
I'll make it quick so he can get back to his thing. Everybody, grab your pen and paper. Write this down. 1932. Britain controlled that whole area. You cannot find the word Israel on any 1931, 1932 map. Doesn't mean I hate the Israel people. Doesn't mean that. I'm just giving you data. You cannot find the word Israel. Where you do find it is above the Dead Sea, close to Lebanon. It is not right next to the Dead Sea. So know that. What happened in 1932, Dynas, and it affects what's happening in 2023. The British people grabbed their guns and they forced the Palestinians to take 300,000 Jews within 3 years. There were only 6 or 9,000 Jews in 1930, 1931. They pulled out their guns and forced these people to take 300. Now, Jews were German. You had a lot of famous German Jews, a lot of famous Russian Jews, Jews from Spain. I'm giving you this detail to let you know why this is happening. So now, through all those years, the first Arab revolt was in 1936. And it was not against the Jews. It was against the British people pointing their guns at Palestinians, forcing them to take on more and more and more people. So it's just like Dynas, your home in Atlanta. If you start having a bunch of people moving in over there with the help of the government and the government not doing anything to stop all the issues that are rising up, you're going to have a problem too. And I'm going to end by saying this here. What was happening in 2023, it should have never happened. Hamas shouldn't have never did what they did, because I think it's cowardly to go after festival people. That's just my viewpoint. But I don't think it's going to end well, because if Lebanon or Iran gets into this, they're just waiting for America to do too much. America cannot send them no missiles. They cannot refresh their artillery. The minute they do that, Lebanon and Israel is going to form like Voltron, and it's going to be a problem.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Salmon.
Oh yeah, thank you for letting me on. Yeah, in regards to American or Black Americans coming to Africa and possibly being better leaders than the Africans that already live there, I think the issue it stems from what the objective is, short term and long term. So if your objective is to build the economy and build your military might, then both of those two objectives coincide. You know, and when it comes to African nations on the continent, it's all about gross domestic product. How much stuff that you manufacture locally as opposed to importing. And when you the more stuff that you manufacture locally, that's how your economy grows and it gets stronger. So, for instance, you take a nation like the United States of America. You know, they manufacture a lot of weapons, and they uh, they sell their weapon technology and materials to other nations, and that helps make them a more powerful, strong nation. And that's similar to that what's going on in Israel with Hamas. Uh, Israel has the backing of the United States, and not only does it has the backing of the United States and the European Union, it also manufactures its own goods and weapons as well that helps them stay a strong nation. So if it, for instance, the richest man in West Africa, I believe his name is Aliko Dangote, and he
Richest
manufactures
black man in the world.
richest black man in the world. I think he's worth upwards of $20 billion. He his companies manufacture oil and uh, and uh, and concrete, and he sells his what he manufactures locally to a lot of the different merchants all throughout West Africa because they're building a lot of infrastructure in Africa that requires concrete and oil. So whatever leader in the United States, if he had tended, if he wanted to go to Africa, he would have to like first he would have to find a way to retain Africa's own talent. So people that can create innovation, people that have all of these degrees and information and skills, and keep them in Africa so that Africans can start to manufacture their own stuff and grow their economy and grow the gross domestic product. And then on top of that, once you grow your economy and your gross domestic profit, then you can build a powerful military and have more sovereignty in the world. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say.
Okay, cool.
And you said similar to what I said. The newly born boys have to be indoctrinated with some type of living wage, ability to thrive. If I were to put let's say this person with the concrete thing, hey, if he was to start the training center for concrete, all right, and he was to make it a thing to where people go to school to build even better concrete, he can do that. You know what I'm saying? If he was to get a refinery, I don't know if they're going to give him permission to have a refinery, but if he was to get a refinery, he would become a major player. We got to get people who are strategically doing what I like Rich Paul and his friends are doing. Everybody gets an industry and they master it. You got to master an industry. And we got too many sons and nephews who don't believe in us as uncles and fathers because we're not creating institution. Lastly, guy in the chat room said, "What are you doing?" I got 12 black men hired before COVID. I got 3 black dudes hired since January. Now that I've said what I'm doing, I would say to the guy in the chat, "What are you doing?" And he got quiet. We can't just shame each other and crack jokes. These are serious things our grandsons and granddaughters are going to need us to fix. And we can't crack jokes and do insults and have gotcha moments.
Well, just to be specific, Akilo Dangote is a major player. He employs several different millions of Nigerians, give him jobs, and he trains people in Nigeria as well. To work in his manufacturing plant. So yeah, he is a major player. I think that if there was a leader that was to come from the United States that wanted to go to Africa, he should probably take some of Dangote's ideas and processes and add that to the way that he wanted to lead their nation.
Cool, man. What we'll do, we'll go ahead and start closing out. Mr. Research, anything else you'd like to share in closing?
Yeah, this is the only thing I share in closing. And I say it respectful to every male son and nephew that's listening. The time for insults and jokes is over with. You out here having sex, you out here dating. Let's start taking over some industries. Taking over. I ain't talking about participate in. If you guys are in tech, you need to start forming as a group and taking some of the ideas and farming them out to your cousins and creating outside companies. We got to put ourselves in a position to where we're trying to help the grandchildren. We can't just be about us and look at me, I got $300,000. Look at me, look at me, look at me. No, there has to be some type of, hey, after our death, there's some measure that other boys can glock into. And the reason I keep saying boys, because if we don't invest in these boys, then out of their own stress, they turn into villains. Got to be honest about that. So let's start helping our boys. Women, you're in these management positions. If that boy is qualified, bring him in. Don't tease him. Don't make fun of him. Bring him in. We got to stop being a teasing and insult community. Thank you, Dynast, for allowing me to speak.
Yeah, thanks, Dynast.
No problem. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. Now, listen, if you want to roll to Sierra Leone or Zanzibar with us next month, hit me up. Go to donfo.africa. Again, donfo.africa. Send me a message. Send me an email. Include your phone number. Till next time, family. Dynast Amir, search for Huru. Peace.